The Dwarves. The Dwarves. Infamous race in the Warhammer community. Love them or hate them, the Dwarves are a part of this game, and they will always be here, for they've always been. Dwarven campaign is very much an empire builder. It is slow, it is satisfactory. You'll throw on some Spotify and end a lot of turns while you build up a monstrous economy, gigantic fortresses, and slowly march out to grind the world to dust. You'll play most of your battles on triple fast forward as you shoot your opponents to death with tons of thunderers, flamethrowers, giant torpedo launchers, and cannons. It is a good time. It is a chill time. Don't expect anything to go too fast. In multiplayer, Dwarves in domination mode suffer from the fact that they are so slow, but they are benefited by the fact that they have extremely high leadership, very high armor, and they can sit on top of points until the end times come. So if you can get them to the point, they can hold it pretty well for you, and they will prosper. In land battles, they're currently struggling at the moment, but their fortunes could change with some stat buffs. The Dwarves' main strengths, as I mentioned, is their high armor, overly cost-effective infantry, except for against Cathay, and yeah, missile infantry. Nah, it's all about infantry for them. They literally have no cavalry as of this recording, and their flying war machines are, I don't want to say cheese picked so negatively, but if your opponent knows you're bringing the helicopters aren't that good. Their artillery is also quite strong. Dwarves have excellent range. Dwarves have excellent frontline holding, not necessarily excellent frontline killing. Longbeards with great weapons can sometimes get the job done, but they're also unshielded, so if your opponent's just going to shoot you, Longbeards with great weapons suck. Most of the times you'll see a front line of miners with blasting charges for excellent shock damage, then an 80 armor chaff piece for the rest of the game, and Slayers to hold the back line as a pseudo-cavalry piece with 40 speed, anti-large goodness. Dwarven missile infantry nefariously trades well with all of them? Not the great weapon variants, but Thunderers, Quarrelers, and Rangers are all shielded. Bugman's Rangers are also shielded. They have a good amount of armor, their least armored being 40, and then their average being 80 after that. You also have Iron Drakes and Iron Drakes Trollhammer Torpedoes that are tiny, tiny targets with only 28 models to a group and 125 armor apiece that can usually deal with most archers or front lines with gusto. Iron Drakes can take out any monster that lands in front of them. So dwarves are good. Dwarves are good in the infantry departments. Their war machines are fine. Most of them are overcosted except for the basic cannon, but most of their infantry are going to be what you take. You'll also probably deploy in a box. They're fun enough, though. The weaknesses of the dwarves, and if you're fighting them, their lords kind of suck except for Thoric Ironbrow. Right now, most of them blow. Even if they get buffs, the problem with the dwarves is always going to be the same. Their lords, whether they're on a thing or whether they're on the ground, they're slow, they're high armor, they're decent HP, but they can't pick their fights. So you can cycle charge them rather effectively. You can just shoot them. Cast a bunch of spells on them, even with their spell resist. Slowly snipe them out. Not much they can do to stop you from doing that. Dwarves do not have a good strength in lords or heroes, all things considered. I did mention when you're playing as the dwarves, their infantry and their missile infantry are the problem. How to kill them loops right into what spell lores are good against them. Shadows, no matter how much you nerf it, is an armor-piercing, infantry-clearing lore. So Lore of Shadows is generally pretty good. The Lore of Heavens is an underrated lore with the Comet and the Thunderbolt, and then there's the Curse of the Midnight Wind that lowers people's armor. Heavens is also a rather good lore at clearing out dwarven boxes. I'm trying to think of any other heavily armor-piercing lore that come into the game. Slaanesh has some pretty good lores like that. Anyway, if you find a spell with good armor piercing, use it on the dwarves and you won't regret it. As for the rest of your army composition, cavalry is risky. Usually you want to go with light cavalry if you're facing the dwarves. Heavy cav, in most cases, just isn't going to get its value out, and it'll eventually get dragged down or shot by these little short monstrosities. To beat them, cheap armor-piercing infantry, if you have it, will trade quite effectively. Missiles do okay, just don't try to duel their missiles. Use your missiles to clear out their front line, and then use your front line to clear out their missiles. Don't usually try to trade one for one with them or you'll regret it. Kiting the dwarves is also nefariously something they hate. They can use cannons to try and force you in, but if you manage to take those down, the dwarves can't have any agency or mobile pressure, so dogs, squigs, pigs, anything with armor piercing or is fast can really annoy the dwarves if you get on their flanks and sneak into their lines. So, good luck with that, but you definitely need spells against the dwarves. It's one of the only ways to clear out their infantry. They don't have any magic of their own, so you have that inherent advantage. I hope that helped.
Roar! Subscribe, yes, yes.